This is the most important work being done today on the globe, interfaith work. You are all a part of it. There is no mistake that you're here today. You've been tapped on the shoulder whether you know it or not. I'm here to tell you that you are very important, and what's going to emerge out of this hall today can change the world. We enter this territory because we must. We are compelled by visions of interfaith harmony no less mesmerizing than the ones that captivated the imaginations of our explorer ancestors. Visions of a new world, of unlimited potential, of great opportunity, and spiritual wealth. We know with certainty that our interfaith world is curved, not flat. So do we also know our faith is not linear. Our faith is particle and wave, as are we. As voyagers guided by our heavenly stars and constellations, we believe that just beyond the horizon is a fertile and welcoming world where people of many faiths can live in mutual respect and compassion, a land of unity within diversity and diversity within unity. It is a world so rich in potential for inner and outer peace that we are willing to risk all.
Welcome to everyone. I'm broadcasting live from Culver City, California. My name is Ruth Broyde Sharone, and I'm delighted to be here. And I want to thank first and foremost all the organizers and participants of World Unity Week, a truly, truly memorable event. I wanted to give you a little background about myself of why I'm even here today. I would say that my interest in World Unity was sparked in my early 20s when I had an opportunity to travel around Latin America. I was there for 18 months. I visited 19 countries and 54 cities. And soaking in the Latin culture, the language, of course. And it was then that it occurred to me that having an opportunity to meet people from another culture, live with them, understand who they were, that we had so much in common. Conflict, of course, always occurs, but we have other ways of dealing with it. So I'm going to start by introducing a short video, which is called My Love Affair with Interfaith, something I have been doing for the last 30 years of my life. I had this wild idea in 1991 to create an interfaith Seder. And I ended up inviting 85 people. It was Passover, and although it's the Jewish holiday, many people have found that Passover is very magnetic. It brings people together because it's a celebration of liberation from oppression. And so everybody can identify with that. It doesn't matter how you call God or if you even believe in God. That is a human expression that we can all cherish. And after that happened, I was led to meet an extraordinary African-American minister, Dolores Gray. And she and I found that we had a lot in common. And after a series of conversations, something happened, something, I guess, revelatory happened. And we decided that we would create what may have been the first interfaith peace pilgrimage to the Holy Land. We wanted to bring, in particular, the Black and the Jewish community together because we had been such good friends during the civil rights movement. But also, since then, there had been a chasm developing. We wanted to repair that. But we invited many people. And the idea was that we would travel from Cairo through the Sinai Desert to Jerusalem. We would share our faith stories. And traveling together and dialoguing, we would have a chance to develop trust and understanding and fulfill our curiosity about one another. And in Jerusalem, we had, as a culminating event, we had the Universal Freedom Seder, in which all of the pilgrims participated, but also we invited people from all over the world to join us.
About 50 people, Israelis, Arabs, Indians, Sri Lankans, Ethiopians, Jews and Muslims, Christians and Hindus participated in a universal Seder called a Festival of Freedom at Beit Shmuel in Jerusalem. The Seder was led by Rabbi Zalman Schachter Shlomi, leader of the Jewish spiritual renewal movement in the United States.
This is a Seder of the future, not a Seder of the past. We are using the template of the past in order to dream of the miracle of the future that's possible.
People of all faiths, races, and ethnic backgrounds sat together. The traditional Haggadah was revised. The Seder plate included an olive branch for hope, and the prayers included readings from the Quran and the Lord's Prayer. A prayer shawl decorated with the personal messages of peace by the participants provided background. The event was organized by a Jewish filmmaker and an African-American minister.
I got 3 prophecies from people that I did not know that said that I would be leading the most unique and unusual tours to Israel, and it would include African-American Jews, Muslims, and Catholics, and that's precisely what we're doing here tonight at Beit Shmuel.
The notion of it came from the traditional Passover Seder, but this is something totally new and different.
Memorial candles were lit in memory of the people of many nations who were killed, and the hope was expressed that peoples in all the troubled spots of the world, and Jews and Arabs, could begin a new chapter of peaceful coexistence.
The story of the Jewish people freedom is described in many occasions in the Holy Quran. And if there is anything we desperately need, it's for us, the children of Abraham, the cousins, to come back together.
The children of Abraham are about to become reconciled.
And we did it in 93, 94, 95. And then again, I organized one in the year 2000. And whenever we were together, Dolores and I, Christian and Jew, black and white, people would look at us and they would say, well, this is really amazing, but who sponsored this? And she and I would look at each other and we'd turn back and we'd say, God. And then people would say, no, really. And then we'd look at each other and we'd turn back and we'd say, no, really, because it was God inspired. And I think anybody who works in the interfaith community will have to agree with me that whatever work we do is God inspired.
Oh, peace, where are you hiding? Come out and show your face. Oh, peace, silently chiding our wayward human race. Our world is torn and violent, great pain and grief prevail. O peace, be not you silent, come forth and lift your veil.
During the time I've been, the 3 decades I've been working in interfaith, I've been looking for quick guides to help people master skills so that they won't feel so overwhelmed. And a very interesting technique that I started to develop on my own was the result of having taken a course in the Alexander technique, which is, of course, is about how you move, how you sit, your how you not just for performing, which is actually the way it was first developed, but the idea is that you don't just do things, you first become aware of what you're going to do. And then when you do that, you have a chance to change them and to reach for the best. So I'm going to share with you a short video, which is called the Alexander Technique, which I think is perfect for handling difficult conversations. I wanted to start out by telling you a story. And about 10 years ago, I spent an entire week learning the Alexander Technique. I don't know whether you're aware of what that is. Some of you may know it already, but basically it's a system of how to carry your body, how to move your body so that you will have great posture, you will eliminate aches and pains, and when you walk, you will be totally aligned. And so we spent a week practicing, and one of the first amusing things we learned is that when you get up from sitting down, you don't use your pelvis to do it, you use your head. And what they taught us is that you actually lead with your head, not with your pelvis. And the way you lead with your head is that you imagine that there is a string pulling you up. So you actually get up by raising your head, and then the rest of your body follows. And after that week of practice and fun and trying to learn the new paradigm of how we should move and act and bend and dance and sit in the world, because the best way I remember things is through song, I developed a little song that goes like this. Your neck is free, your spine is long, you know the lyrics to this song. Awareness first, inhibit next, direction up if you're perplexed. That helped me remember the stages of how I actually get up from a seated position, or how I squat, or how I bend over. So in other words, awareness first, and before I do anything, I first inhibit myself until I decide how I'm going to do it. And then direction up, the head up, if you're perplexed. And it occurred to me that this was an amazing formula to use to teach not just interfaith dialogue over conflicts, but any kind of dialogue between two people to foster trust. And so in 2015, I was invited with a Muslim girlfriend, Sharita Hussein, and Eileen Epperson, a Christian friend. The three of us were invited to give a workshop at the Parliament of the World's Religions in Salt Lake City. And the title of our talk was The Elephant in the Room: How to Manage Difficult Conversations, especially for women. And because this forum is on the status of women, what I'm about to share with you is especially helpful for women, but trust me, it's helpful for everybody, men, women, children, everyone. So I wanted to share my screen for a moment and show you how this works with dialogue. Awareness is given the yellow color, just like at the stoplight. When you see yellow, you slow down and proceed with caution. So this is the same thing that happens in difficult dialogue. And you want to take a survey. What am I feeling in my body right now? Am I nervous? Am I angry? Am I perplexed? What's going on with me? And where am I? And who am I with? And what is the context for this? Is this someone I met on a bus and I'm sitting next to him and a difficult conversation comes up? Is this a close friend of mine? Is this, quote unquote, an enemy or a person that has an entirely different viewpoint on life? Who is this person and where am I and how am I feeling? So that's the first one. The next one is the red of the stoplight, which is stop. I inhibit myself. I don't rush into saying anything which could be afterwards damaging to everybody there. I don't rush into saying something which could be hurtful or blurting something out without taking a second, a nanosecond. I'm not talking about 5 minutes. I'm saying awareness, and now we inhibit, and we're asking, how can I affect a positive change by engaging right now? Is it worth getting involved? Now that's something we have to decide. Is this conversation in a particular place where I can have a heart-to-heart with someone, where I can truly express my feelings and where I can totally listen, a deep listening to the other person? And is this person being provocative intentionally? Because if that's true, then I have to know that going into the situation. So now we've done the first two, the awareness, inhibit, stop, and now direction up. Whatever I do in this conversation, I want to be connected for the best possible outcome. I want to be connected to the divine, whatever you consider to be the divine, to the source, to my higher self, and I want to be connected to my community, and I want to be connected to every other person, because we are all part of this enormous tapestry of humanity. Each person here that we meet is entitled to have respect. And even if they come off as being loud, obnoxious, bossy, etc., still in God's image, another person, another soul. Now, I want to add one little thing here, even though I said this is for everybody. I want to add one little thing here, particularly for women and young women. I know that in many parts of the world, women do not have a voice. Women cannot vote. Women are overpowered by cultural mores. And so in some places, it's really harder for women to be able to speak up. But I think that if they go through this process, especially the process about the awareness and the inhibit, that they can develop the muscle for having difficult conversations. And that is a muscle that everyone needs to think about as we go forward in a contentious world, and especially as we've seen in our last election here in America, where the country is so divided and we can't even find a way to conduct civil discourse. We have to develop some techniques for conversation. And I think Alexander didn't know it when he created this technique for actors to sing better and to move better on the stage. But I think that he did us an enormous favor by lending us the same concept for us to use in our dialogue. In the work that we're doing of fostering dialogue, it's a godsend to be able to use the arts. And look, I made up a song about the Alexander technique. Whoever knew that I would be sharing it with all of you today? But you know,
it's sharing
the neck
time.
is free, the spine is long. You know the lyrics to this song. Awareness first, inhibit next, direction up if you're perplexed.
You know, when we have peace, singing and dancing is going to break out. So why don't we just start the singing and dancing now?
Right.
And we'll have peace.
Right. That's exactly right.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
It makes me laugh again. That was from a video that was recorded at the 65th session on the Commission on the Status of Women for the UN. It was a parallel event, an NGO event. And I had two colleagues that together we were presenting a program on fostering dialogue for peace and trust. And speaking of peace and trust, I wanted to introduce the next video, which is a video that has to do particularly with Muslim-Jewish relations in difficult times. I've been part of a Muslim-Jewish women's dialogue group for 18 years. And we met through thick and thin, through some of the most difficult times. And I say difficult times because it was what was really going on in the Middle East, which was then reflecting back on the groups in the United States and elsewhere that were trying to create bridges for understanding and opportunities to dialogue about our differences and still remain friends and develop trust and friendship. That's what it was about.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Nurmalika Chisti, and I am a representative in the Sufi Order International, a member of the Southern California Muslim Jewish Forum, which was convened by the Foundation for Ethnic Understanding. And I am on the board of Regeneration, an organization that is seeding the Middle East with schools where Arab and Jewish children are being educated together.
Hello, I'm Ruth Broyde Sharone. Shalom Aleichem. I'm Jewish. I am the co-chair of the Southern California Parliament of the World's Religions. I've been very active in interfaith for 25 years, and both of us, Nurmalika and myself, are also members of the Muslim-Jewish Women's Dialogue Group here in West Los Angeles, and we call ourselves the Cousins.
Cousins.
And we've been meeting for 11 years
through thick and through thin times. And
Amen.
The reason that we're speaking to all of you today and why we feel this is so important is because we have broken hearts. We have broken hearts about what's happening, especially in the Middle East. There are certainly many, many other places in the world that need our attention, but in particular, we're brokenhearted, and we're not here to talk politics. We're not here to take sides. We're not here to prove points and bring out documentation. We're here to talk about what courage it takes to maintain friendship and to continue to cultivate trust and love with someone even though they stand on the other side of the Great Divide. It's a huge challenge, and we're frightened by what we see in cyberspace, the hatred, the venom, the vindictiveness. It's scary.
It is indeed. And what I know that kind of energy, what it does is it closes the heart. And the Quran tells us that God cannot be contained in the entire universe, but can be found in the heart and our own hearts. So if we're letting our hearts be closed through anger and hatred, which is aplenty these days, then how will we have access to receiving the kind of guidance from God that will help us to truly make a new way?
And we're not here because we've held hands and sung Kumbaya together, that's for sure. We also had our rocky moments. I would say it happened about 5 years ago, and we were having such difficulty between the two of us that it spilled over into our interfaith community. And at one point, we didn't know whether we could continue being friends or being associated with one another. And that was the moment when our good friend, Dr. Thomas Hedberg, stepped in and said, let me hold space for the two of you. Let's the three of us meet together. He said, I will be not just a space holder, but I will be there as your brother. And let's work this out, because the entire community needs to see that the two of you will be friends again.
And so we arrived at Thomas's house, and the atmosphere was so prepared for us. I mean, we walked into a holy space that he had created, and I think just the outcome of that is that we felt like lovers after we were done. We kept calling each other for days, and we had become so connected in our hearts in such a deep way from having gone through the journey together and come through the other side. So
I just wanted to point something out, is that, and this is also true of what's happening today, is that we came with distinct narratives about what the problem was and distinct narratives about each other. And Thomas asked us, first of all, and I'll never forget this, he said, first of all, Ruth, tell me what you like about Nurmalika. And I spoke about her leadership abilities, about her creativity, I said all these things about her which I knew were to be true. And then he turned to Nurmalika and he said, and what would you say about Ruth? And she said,
the same thing.
And then we laughed, we looked at each other, and then he said, okay, now let's go to the harder part. He said, what are the things, what is your issue here? What is it that you would like each other to know about what is upsetting to you, what's painful for you, what's bothering you? And he gently led us through that. And I have to say, it was a minefield. And it was, even though he was a very loving presence and so forth, it was really hard. We both cried because we both, after we told what our problem was, he asked us to acknowledge what was our part in creating that. And I remember the stretch, the huge emotional, psychological stretch that each of us had to make to be able to acknowledge how we had contributed to the disharmony. But then something miraculous happened.
Yeah.
When we went through that and we both accepted responsibility for our part in it, the heavens opened up. I remember there was actually light flooding down into the room, and we looked at each other and we knew that whatever had come between us before then, it would never be that way again.
But it served a wonderful purpose. It was a huge lesson for both of us, and we were able to share our story in Melbourne, the Parliament of World Religions. But people stopped both of us after that workshop and said it was one of the best workshops in the whole Parliament for them, because it wasn't somebody talking about theory and how you listen and speak from your heart, but it was us telling our real story, real life story. So we're hoping again that we can share a story that will move others to move past disharmony, because what we've both noticed is that in interfaith communities where not just where Muslim and Jewish people are, but
all the religions.
All the religions. And there has been, people have been stretched to the point where it seems like they're forgetting that they love each other. So we realize that reminding people that we love each other, and it's just like in our own nuclear family, you may love everybody in your family, but it's highly unlikely you agree with everybody. And it's that way in life. And Ruth and I have never been under the illusion that we have agreed on these certain issues, but we don't let it separate us.
Or who did what to whom when.
Yeah, because
right.
that's not going to help at all. So we want to reaffirm that as our strong belief that if humanity is going to create a world of harmony and peace, then we have to be able to move past that, and we have to keep our hearts open to each other.
And because this now cyberspace has allowed anybody and everyone to express his and her opinion, we have seen a wave of venom come out, which is so distressing to us that we're wondering, with this great advance in technology, which has allowed everyone to speak to everyone else on the globe almost, or soon that's going to happen, and we're allowed to express our opinions freely, if we haven't been tutored in how to speak to one another, if we don't have the language of nonviolent communication that we know Marshall Rosenberg has been teaching for years, and so few people have been able to not only experience it in their own lives, but have been able to learn it in order to change the way they speak with their families, with their friends, with their communities, with people they don't agree with. If we don't develop that language for ourselves, we are going to pollute cyberspace, just the way we have polluted our media here as well, and polluted conversations that we've had with one another. And it's so troubling to us, because even though we know that we could put our gloves on and do the thing that we see everybody else doing, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. And we're going to be looking at the bigger picture that we are children of Abraham and that all of us are children of humanity. We know that.
God said, I could have made you all one people, but I didn't. So you can come to know one another, and you should compete with each other in doing good works.
So we're here to urge you, wherever you are, in whatever standpoint you have used to be able to view the situation, we're here to tell you that there is more than one way to look at a situation. And if you can open yourself up to the possibility that someone else also has a valid viewpoint, even if it's not your own, and that every person deserves the dignity of being respected for his or her viewpoint, as long as it's nonviolent and doesn't encourage violence, then we can make some headway. And Nur Malika, there's a favorite poem that we both love from Rumi.
Beyond the field of wrongdoing and right doing,
there is a field,
and I'll meet you there.
We'll meet you there.
We'll meet you there. We will look for you. Inshallah.
Be'ezrat Hashem. Go and make peace.
Please. Please.
A song of peace is what we need. A song of peace in word and deed. A song of peace to light our way. A song of peace cease to sing today.
That brings tears to my eyes, remembering the two of us recording that in the garden of my home during one of the most contentious periods in the Middle East, where we wanted to make a statement of how to retain friendship, having different narratives and different ideas about what was happening. And now I'd like to make a change to another topic, which is integral to my work in the world, which is how to use the arts to encourage interfaith engagement. And the reason it's so important to me is because I come from a background as a filmmaker and a writer and author. And to my surprise, and to the surprise of everybody who knows me, who's known me, is in the last 5 years, I've actually been writing a musical called INTERFAITH the Musical, writing music and lyrics to some 30 songs, and which developed, I would say, it was a cosmic download. That's how it happened. But before we get to, I want to share some of the songs from the musical with you, because they all follow the theme of celebrating our magnificent diversity and appreciating one another and having respect for one another and enjoying the fact that we are so diverse. So, but first I want to share a short video, which is on how to use the arts to promote interfaith engagement. The arts have a special way of capturing us, our attention, our heart, and our soul, that dialogue and panel discussions and social gatherings don't always have. Those are valuable, and I don't want to undermine them for a moment, but something special happens to the human physiology when you introduce an idea through the arts. So the video I'm about to show you is about 72 women, Muslim, Christian, and Jewish women from Israel and Palestine. They had been meeting regularly, and let me tell you, meeting in that part of the world is not so easy when you have checkpoints and when you can't always get through and when there are difficulties. But these women had been meeting for quite a while, and they reached a point where they wanted to do something. They wanted to create something with the friendships that they had developed. And someone had an idea of putting together a peace and healing quilt. And so each of these women, 72 women, was given a patch, and they were told, you can do with this patch whatever you want. You can glue on it, you can paint on it, you can put photographs on it, you can embroider, weave things, you can do anything you want with your little patch. And after they all completed the patches, they were assembled into a gorgeous Islamic design, and it was lined, and it was displayed for the first time at the American Embassy in Tel Aviv. And I want to share that film with you, and you'll get to see some of the women who worked on it, and to appreciate how by putting their heart and soul into this creative endeavor, they created a monument to interfaith engagement and to peace and harmony.
Trust Emun is an organization that grew out of our desire to create a place where people could build trust and understanding together.
What came into my head was that the way we could do it is to hear the voices of women. The original idea was to create communication through the quilt.
It's a beautiful quilt and an absolutely wonderful way to work together. So Secretary Clinton is very keen on working with women. Women are a key factor in society. Women are left behind, do not have an important role to play. The whole society suffers.
We had tremendous support from the American Embassy because 10 years ago, our first meeting was held with the hospitality of the American Center and with a grant from the American Center.
طبعا جدا مسرورة. أنا مشتركة في هاي الجمعية اللي تقريبا 10 سنين برافقها في كل محل، وأنا سعيدة جدا اللي أنا موجودة اليوم هون.
The quilt's basic design is an Islamic design. Each part represents a hand. And because they are touching each other, we are connected. Everyone was given a hand, and they could express themselves in whatever way and whatever medium they chose.
I painted the sun rising over the Jerusalem hills with a burst of light and energy, and is a symbol of tremendous hope.
Mine represents a lion, which is the symbol of Jerusalem. The lion is crying because he feels that this is a troubled place.
I just hope that this quilt can get out to so many people, because it's such a rich and fertile expression of the harmony among all the disharmony.
I want them to understand the passion and the pain and the hope.
I know that if you work together, you can start to understand that there are common threads that we all have.
أنا بوجه كلمتي للنساء الفلسطينيات وللإسرائيليات ولكل اللي عايشين في هاي المنطقة، إنه نتقرب مع بعضنا البعض، وإحنا نبدأ نحكي وإحنا نبدأ في السلام. إذا نحن ما حكيناش وبدينا إحنا في السلام، ما فيش حدا بيبدأ.
And one more thing I want to add, because I'm so proud of this. I am the custodian for this quilt. I have it in my house in a turquoise suitcase, and I have been taking it around the world with me to interfaith events and conventions and anywhere that I could, to share with people from around the world, to show how 72 women, Muslim, Christian, and Jewish, have created a work of art and a work of humanity. So you have an amazing example of how a creative effort by people from different political points of view coming together and creating something of beauty is a way of overcoming, of surmounting the differences, if only briefly, but in the creation of the ultimate product. In this case, it's a 13-foot diameter quilt. People have all come by and taken photos in front of it because it's so spectacular, and they have stopped to examine each of the patches of the women who contributed towards it. So this is something to consider in your communities. Like, what could you do together? Maybe you could do a photo exhibit on family and just bring photographs together from the different cultures celebrating religious or cultural holidays, and then create an enormous board or a center of photography where people could keep bringing in new photographs to emphasize our common humanity. And whatever the art form, whether it's, I remember I had an opportunity to present my film, God and Allah Need to Talk, which I made after 9/11. I presented it at the Bangladeshi embassy in Washington, DC. The way we started the evening was through music. Even before we had any kind of presentations, we started music. And so we got a tabla, a drummer from India, who happened to be Catholic, to play with a Jewish musician who played violin. And that set the stage for the entire evening.
You know, fate has to bring the right people together. Ruth and I met in Los Angeles some time ago, and we realized that we have a common vision.
It's going to take people like the ambassadors saying, you know, this is where the rubber meets the road, and I'm here, and this is my home, and I open it to all of you. Let's see what we can do. Greetings, salam alaikum, shalom aleichem. Such a pleasure to be here with all of you tonight, to see your beautiful faces. And I have now the honor of introducing 6 representatives of different faith groups who will say blessings for us before we have our meal. There are so many wonderful things happening around the world, and we believe that as a result of this evening, there will be so many reverberations from it that it will be then up to people like you and other conscientious media people who really care about changing the world, who will step up and say and fight to put this on the air.
And I always encourage people who are putting on interfaith, intercultural, world unity events to begin with music. And because we know from even scientific studies about music that the vibrations and the resonance of the music puts a person into a different frame of mind and attunes an entire audience to the evening that is to follow, not through words, but through music. It's just like if you have a room full of tuning forks, all keyed to F, and you take one tuning fork in there and you hit it, all the others will start vibrating together without having been touched.
A song of peace so clear and pure, a song of peace that will endure, a song of peace our hopes unfurled, a song of peace that fills the world.
So again, the arts have, for me personally, in my quest to bring peace to the world and greater understanding, they have been key. And so again, I want to go back because now I want to share some music from Interfaith the Musical.
Warm greetings to all of you. The evolution of Interfaith the Musical is a mystical, magical story that very clearly shows the hand of the divine. About 4 years ago, I was taking a walk when suddenly words and music tumbled out. I have no idea from where or why, because I'm a filmmaker and a writer, not a composer and a musician, but the words were very clear. And it was, what if, when you awoke, you were wearing a stranger's shoes? What if, when you awoke, you shared your enemy's extremist views? What if, when you awoke, you think in color, not black and white? What if, when you awoke, you could imagine not being right? And then the chorus, which is actually the reason why all this music was written, is, what if we all could see the beauty of one expanding humanity? And then 30 more songs came out. What if my children go astray? Spiritual but not religious. Why can't science and religion be friends? I'm a Buju. I'm Buddhist and I'm Jewish, I'm a Buju. And I was saying, why me? But I knew why. I figured it out because after 30 songs, after 30 years of working as an interfaith activist and leader and understanding that this was the most important work being done in the world today, we need to go mainstream. And where is mainstream? In the musical theaters of our country. Because that's where unsuspecting people will go to hear a great story. And so I was determined, and that's why I was selected, because I have come to love and appreciate all the faiths working together with people of every community, including atheists and freethinkers of every community. And I know that this show needs to be on Broadway. To say, yes, we want to see who we are on the stage, who we are.
what's different about us is what makes it so exciting to be alive in the world with such a diverse, I call them the flowers of the field. God didn't make just one kind of flower. God made every kind of flower and vine and tree, and with purpose and for a good reason. And so the first song I'd like to share with you from the musical, I've released one album and now I'm releasing a second album soon. And this is on the second album, and it's called, and just before we play it, I just wanted to make one more comment about it. It's called We Are the Ones. The full title was We Are the Ones We've Been Waiting For. And it occurred to me, and many other people have been speaking about this. I remember Barbara Marx Hubbard mentioning this in a talk I heard of hers some 20 years ago, that everybody's expecting if you're Christian, the Messiah to come for a second time. Everybody's expecting someone, some divine person to come and save us from ourselves in order to change the world. And she said, and there is no one coming. So what does that mean? It means then that we are the ones that are going to have to change the world. We are the ones we've been waiting for.
We have been waiting, anticipating. Will the one special one come today? We have been hoping, but barely coping in a world that's gone astray. And what if the one special one never comes? And what if we discover that we ourselves are the ones we have been waiting for? Not just you and me, but everyone, not just he and she, but everyone, not just they and them, but everyone together. Not just here and there, but everywhere, not just near and far, but everywhere, not just where we are, but everywhere together. Not just now and then, but all the time, not just if and when, but all the time, not just if we can, but all the time together. We are the ones we've been waiting for, all of us together. Everyone, everywhere, all the time, everyone, everywhere, all the time, everyone, everywhere, all the time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Just you and me, but everyone, not just he and she, but everyone, not just they and them, but everyone together. Not just here and there, but everywhere, not just near and far, but everywhere, not just where we are, but everywhere together. Not just now and then, but all the time, not just if and when, but all the time, not just if we can, but all the time together. We are the ones we've been waiting for, all of us together.
when there was a kind of competition between all our organizations, like who is going to become the most prominent, who is going to become the most populated, who is going to have the most groups, who's going to, and in the last 4 to 5 years, those organizations have teamed up and they have appointed on their board the head of one of the other major organizations. And now everybody's doing things together. And this is symbolized, the culmination of this can be seen in World Unity Week, when you realize how many organizations are participating. And the point is to make it bigger, better, grander together. And to go from a place of, you can be competitive in a kind of fun, friendly way, but the main thing is to be collaborative and cooperative. I call it holy collaboration.
We beg you to come closer, embrace us all day long. Oh, peace be our composer and help us find our song.
An interfaith joke that at a given moment in time, all the great religions of the world decided they had to get together. And so they each sent a representative, and it was in a huge hall. And when everybody was assembled, right, all the masters of the greatest religions of the world all together in one room, what do you think they said? They said, uh-huh. They didn't have to say anything else because it was all clear. They all got it. They all knew. Yeah. They all knew they had received the word in a different manner, in a different color, you know, but it was all the same. There was nothing else that had to be said. Uh-huh.
A song of peace is what we need. A song of peace in word and deed. A song of peace to light our way. A song of peace to sing today.
It is changing, even in the most patriarchal countries in the world. You know, Saudi Arabia, the king of Saudi Arabia created an interfaith organization called Qaisid.
Worldwide, over 6 billion people value their religious identity, traditions, experiences, practices, and perspectives. Yet few of us know much about our neighbours' beliefs. By learning about what others care about deeply, we can help promote peace and cohesion in our societies. Through dialogue, we learn that we share many of the same principles as our neighbours. Dialogue can help us to learn and value one another and see each other without fear. The International Dialogue Centre promotes communications between religions and cultures. The centre brings together representatives of governments and religious communities in an impartial and inclusive space to find solutions to pressing issues around the world. The centre promotes dialogue among young people, among people seeking to support social cohesion, in religious institutions and in international organisations. The initial vision was an initiative introduced by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to His Holiness Pope Benedict in 2007. In 2008 in Madrid, a global gathering of religious leaders endorsed the initiative, and within months the UN offered its support. The centre was created in 2012. Austria, Saudi Arabia and Spain became member states. The Holy See became the founding observer. In 2014, the centre launched an initiative uniting religious leaders to reject and prevent violent extremism and conflict in the name of religion. Today, the centre works in the Arab region, the Central African Republic, Nigeria and Myanmar. It also works with refugees in Europe and with young leaders. All those efforts support common citizenship, religious diversity and reconciliation through dialogue. It's never been easier to communicate with people from other cultures and places than it is today. But unless these communications are constructive, they don't necessarily lead to greater understanding. Principles like those advocated by the Centre can help guide these conversations and lead to a more peaceful future.
Recently, my mentor, Rabbi David Rosen, who is one of the preeminent rabbis working in interfaith in the world, he visited Saudi Arabia. He was the first rabbi ever to visit Saudi Arabia. So there are a lot of things happening simultaneously. And I think that World Unity Week gives us an opportunity to glimpse into the different parts of the world and hear from people about what is happening, because mainstream media, we know, emphasizes the violence and the conflict, but we don't have anybody emphasizing the truly wonderful, inspirational events and coming together of people and organizations that are happening on a daily basis. There are at least, and I'm not exaggerating, at least 2,000 peace groups operating in Israel and Palestine. And who would know that? Who would ever know that?
We are border crossers because even as we recognize the philosophical and religious borders that separate us, we do not allow them to keep us from honoring our fellow travelers. And as we interfaith explorers discover one another, and as our networks of interfaith grow and expand across the globe like a giant golden web, we know with certainty we have not undertaken this bold adventure in vain.
So I hope all of you that are listening will consider yourselves also pursuers of peace, and you will prepare the terrain wherever you are.
A song of peace so clear and pure, a song of peace that will endure, a song of peace our hopes unfurled, a song of peace that fills the world, a song